What's going on, Wired fam? Hope everybody's doing well tonight. Welcome to another Wired Live. We are getting back to our schedule, our every Wednesday night live. I appreciate you guys for joining, as always. And as always, when you get on, drop me a hello. Let me know where you're from. And let me know if there's anything you'd like to talk about. Say hello. I always like to say hello back. But make sure you drop me a comment. Let me know where you're from. Say hello. And again, let me know what you guys want to talk about. If there's something you came here for tonight, something you want to ask, questions, comments, concerns, any of that, put it in the comment section, guys. Give me a chance to answer it because I'm here for you all tonight. All right. That's what we're here for. So, got a lot in store tonight. I'm looking forward to it. First and foremost, it is late summer and probably, I love summer fishing. I've said that before, but late summer is probably the worst time to crappie fish because the fish are stressed. They just get lethargic. They just get wore down and they get finicky. They get a little bit hard to catch in late summer and early fall because it's just so hot and they're so drained. So we're going to talk about that tonight. I'm going to talk about ways that you can get some of those fish, some of those pesky, finicky fish to bite. It's going to be a really good show. So I'm looking forward to it. Hope you guys came ready to learn because I'm going to try to learn you something tonight. But if you have any questions and comments, again, please, I can't answer them unless you ask them. So make sure you put those in the comment section. Let's see who's all on tonight. Got Mr. Jimmy Pratt. What's up, Jimmy? What do you say, Jimmy? Let's see. Why is it not telling me how many I've got watching right now? Are we jiving? Hang on. Everybody at? Yep. Driving there. I'm driving there. Yep. Yep. Okay. Can you hear me? Is everybody there? All right, Jackie Jordan. Hey, bud, did you forget me? No, Jackie, I did not forget you. No, I had to think for a minute. I think I almost did forget you. No, I haven't forgot you. Holler at me in the morning. I have everything for you. Holler at me in the morning. Joseph Thaxton. What's up from Macon, Georgia? Hello, hello. I'm still not seeing all you guys. And I'm not seeing any comments. Let's do. Can you see me now? All right, now I'm good. Now I got everybody. Sorry about that. Josh Sanders, thank you for the super chat. Thank you for the super chat, Josh. I appreciate you. I had to refresh my screen, guys, because I wasn't getting any of y'all's comments or any of your super chats. So thank you. It's is this 2 weeks in a row? Yeah, it is. Summer must be coming to an end. So it is coming to an end. We're slowing down a little bit. And no more baseball on Wednesday nights. On a baseball note, though, my boys played last night. We played last night, 7:30 game, which is tough on a school night, and ended up pulling it out 10-5. So if you hadn't seen that picture, they were super excited. Had to take pictures in front of the scoreboard. It's on my Facebook page. But they had a really, really cool win last night, and I was super excited for them because they played their hearts out. They played great baseball. Got 9 outs in a row to close out the game, and it was, 3 innings straight, 3 up, 3 down. It was really, really cool. So they did really good. I was proud of them. But nonetheless, I'd like to say it was the coach that did that, but I didn't have anything to do with it. I just stood in the dugout and hollered at them. So, hey, but they played really well. So I was proud of that. Let's see. Scott Pace, what's going on, Scott? Crappie Kev, hello. Mike Morrison, been missing this every Wednesday night. Well, we're back. We're back in action. LaRue, what's going on, man? Excited to see everybody too. Yeah, I'm ready to get back into the swing of things. I'm excited to see everybody. Harrison from Central Oklahoma, thanks for all you do. Thanks for all the videos and the Laura and the kids giving you the time making them. Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't do it without them. That's for sure. I couldn't do it without Laura for sure. And the kids, hey, they just keep pushing me and keep. They're the reason that I keep pushing, right? So I'm very thankful for the family that I have, without a shadow of a doubt, and very thankful that God blessed me with the wife that I have. So, absolutely, I second that. Thank you very much, Harrison. Eddie Toon, how the heck are we doing today? We're doing well. Hope you're doing good too, Eddie. How are you? Kansas City, Missouri. What's going on, Mr. Lynn? What is up? Todd Pell he says, hello, Matt and everyone. What's going on, Todd? Eddie Toon, mine says 27. Yeah, mine says 36 right now. Hopefully we'll get on up past that. Hello, Matt. We hear you. Thank you, Rusty. I appreciate it. I had to refresh my screen earlier, guys, because it wasn't working right on my end. Good evening, everyone. We can hear you from Mr. Johnny Coots. What's going on? Ronnie Harris, good evening from Carrollton, Georgia. What's going on? I did it again. I messed up. William C., good evening. Our fish are at 13. Our fish are at 13 to 20 feet. Lake Palestine in Texas. Hit the thumbs up, y'all. Thank you, William. Appreciate it, buddy. Did you get that picture I sent you by email? Yes, I did. I think I've gotten a lot over the last little bit, and it's a blur. But I do believe I did. Yes. And I'm on my phone tonight, or I would pull it up. But I am on my phone tonight. We're going live from my phone tonight because my computer's in the truck. All right. Larry, it says, hey, pre-screen did say 8 a.m. start or 8 p.m. start. That's weird. Shouldn't have been 8 p.m. Should have been 9, but maybe it's I think if your computer, so a lot of times when you're on the internet, if you don't have your location on, it just kind of picks your random location, Larry, and sometimes it'll show a different time zone because it thinks you're in a different time zone. Like if you Google Lowe's, sometimes it'll pull up Lowe's in like Branson, Missouri, or someplace like that, and you're like, I'm not there, I'm over here. Your phone does weird things. So always 9 o'clock Eastern time, 9 o'clock Eastern time, which you know that, Larry. Danny Rock from LaGrange, Georgia. What's going on? Ben from down the road in Vonore, Tennessee. What's going on, Ben? Hope you're doing well, buddy. Trying to look at your picture there and see if I've met you before. I need my glasses on. Well, if I haven't, we have now. So, yeah, I'm in Vonore all the time because I'm fishing Tellico all the time. I love that lake. It's my home lake. I grew up fishing Tellico. Well, not grew up, but I cut my crappie fishing teeth on Tellico, okay? So I love the lake. Great lake down there. A lot of fish. Not a lot of huge fish, but just an overabundance of fish, and it's a lot of fun to go down there and fish. So, anyway, best summer lake, speaking of Vonore, Tellico is the best summer lake in East Tennessee, without a doubt. It stays a little cooler, and therefore the fish don't get as stressed out in the summer, and it's just a really, really, really good lake in the summer. So my favorite summer lake. Kenny Evans. Hello, Matt. What's up, Kenny? Kenny in the house, guys. So, yeah, I got a lot of guys on here that are fishing the East Tennessee Crappie Club tournament next weekend. So I gotta watch my words tonight. That's not this weekend, but next weekend. So I gotta watch you guys because you guys are slick. You guys are slippery. So, yep, I gotta watch myself. Roadhouse, hey Matt, what's going on? Tom A from Pennsylvania. Charles Comer, what's up from Jeffersonville, Indiana? What's going on? Scott Winkler, Scott. Hello, Matt from Westchester, Ohio. What's going on? Is that an aquarium back there? No wonder you always have the big fish. So I was just kidding. Yeah, but there's little. We talked about this last week, Rusty. There's nothing in there but those funky little dainty, dancy fish, goldfish and stuff in there. There ain't nothing in there that I'd weigh in, that's for sure. And if there was, I mean, come on, Rusty, I catch 2.5 pounders. I ain't gonna be able to hold them in that little bitty old tank. I mean, come on now. Give me a break. I mean, I'm weighing 13, 14 pounds, baby. They ain't gonna fit in there. So, you know what I'm saying? All right, Eddie Toon headed to Normandy Lake tomorrow. Good luck, Eddie. Hope you do well. Danny Rock says, Matt, do the crappie come in close enough to shore in the fall to cast to them from shore? They do, as a matter of fact, yes. So the fall bite, guys, is just basically the opposite of the spring bite, okay? So that spring bite or that spring spawn, you've got your water temperatures, okay, where the spawn starts at about 62 and ends at about 72, 73, somewhere in there. Everybody has a different number where the spring spawn starts and ends, but me personally, 62, 72 is where I'm looking for those spawning fish. And then, excuse me. And then it's just the opposite in fall. So starting at 72, as the water cools, you start seeing a push up, and all the way down to about 62 is when those fish start moving shallower and shallower and shallower, and they're following those bait fish, okay? So they're following those bait fish up, and absolutely, they will move shallow. They will hit laydowns. They will hit the banks. They will hit any place that bait goes to, they will follow. So to answer your question, yes, they will move close enough to shore. When it gets down around that 69 to 65-ish range, somewhere in there, they're going to start moving towards those banks. So, yes, absolutely they will. Robert Hyde, hello from Canyon Lake, Texas. What's going on, Robert? Todd Pell, Matt, is there a jig weight and bait size you use for different seasons? Very good question. Yes. Okay. Todd, to answer your question, yes, there is different baits and different weights that I use for different seasons. It's seasonal, but it's also how I'm fishing too, technique. Okay. So let's stay on your question for now on seasons. In the summer, when those fish, early summer, when those fish are feeding after the spawn and they're starting to feed real heavy for summer, I like to use something that has a little bit faster fall, something that can, create a reaction strike, if you will. And then late summer, I want to go to something a little lighter. Yes, it's going to take me longer to get to those fish, but those fish are a little more stressed. They're a little bit, more lethargic. And I want to try to get those fish. I want those fish to see that jig falling and have that time to react and eat that jig. So, I'll vary it up a little bit between summer patterns, but then also the fall bite, when the fish are really feeding heavy, I'll go back up to that, 8 to 3/16, unless I'm casting to open water fish, and then I'll go quarter. And then winter, again, it gets cold. The fish's metabolism slows. I'll slow that jig back down a little bit in the winter. And then spring, I'll speed it back up a little bit. So, that's kind of my routine. That's kind of how I vary my jig head weights. As far as baits are concerned, I used to. I used to, vary my bait size a little bit, but anymore, man, I'm a stump bug man. I just stick to that stump bug pretty much religiously year round. I probably should vary it a little bit more, but like early summer, the fall bite, the early summer bite, that early spring bite before they really get on bed good. And sometimes even if you find bedding fish, a larger bait will get a more of a reaction bite. You'll actually get more bites with a larger bait, just because those fish are looking to feed. And a lot of times if we go to a restaurant and we're starving to death and we look down at the menu, we're like, hey, give me one of these and give me this appetizer, and I'll take that. No, let's not do the 8-ounce steak. Let's do the 12-ounce steak, and then you're like, and then you get all your food. And you're like, I'll throw side salad on that too, and you get everything, and they lay it on the table, and you eat the chips and the dip, and they bring everything else out. And you're like, crap, I filled up on chips and dip. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of times our mind checks that our stomach can't cash. And fish, I think, are the same way. A lot of times, they're hungry, they're feeding, they're looking for or they're in that feeding pattern. That early summer, fall bite, and that early spring bite. And I dropped my float, so I'm looking for my float here. When they're in those bites, a bigger bait is sometimes better because they're looking for that larger bait. And if a larger bait and a smaller bait swim by together, they're going to hit that larger bait every time, and then vice versa. When they're not feeding, okay? I don't know what to do with it. Okay. But when they're not feeding, that smaller bait sometimes gets a better reaction. A hair jig a lot of times, because it just doesn't look like a huge meal to them. It just looks like a little snacky snack that's coming by. And they look at the snacky snack and they're like, not really hungry, but that little hot tamale right there looks pretty good. Let me get a little hot tamale. And I say hot tamales because I'm stuck on hot tamales lately. I've got those boxes of hot tamales. I've got 14. I went to the, where was it? My wife found them the other day. My wife went to, I think she went to the Dollar General, and she called me. She's like, I got hot tamales boxes for $1. I was like, get them all. She bought the whole thing up because I'm stuck on hot tamales lately. I love them. That's not an ad. I'm not sponsored by hot tamales. Okay. Not for hot tamales, but I do love them. So I'm using hot tamales tonight. All right. So that's kind of my thought process for bait size and jig weight in the different seasons. Okay. And I hope that wasn't too much yawn. Hope that makes sense. Scott, hello. Matt from Westchester, Ohio. Hello, Charles Comer. In your opinion, which end of Dale Hollow is better fishing? Well, Charles, I appreciate you for asking, but I am not going to give any information on Dale Hollow. And the reason I'm not going to give any information on Dale Hollow is because there's a big tournament down there in November, and we really don't need to be sharing a whole lot of information between one another on Dale Hollow because, where there may be some of the guys that are fishing watching the show, there may not be some watching the show, and it's just not fair to the entire group. Okay. So for the sake of that tournament and its integrity, I'm going to pass on the Dale Hollow question, but I do appreciate your question. And I will answer it. I will try to remember it. If you will come back after November the 12th and ask me that question again, then I will most certainly answer that question for you 110%. But as of right now, I'm gonna try to retain the integrity of that event. Okay. So, but again, thank you very much. Let's see. Hello, Matt from West Monroe, Louisiana, recent subscriber. What's going on, man? Well, thank you for the subscribe. I appreciate that very much. If you have any questions, any comments, welcome to the lives, first of all. Welcome to the Wired fam. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. I love to answer questions. As you can tell, I'm a very talkative person, and I do enjoy answering questions. So please, by all means, let me know if you have any. Last, Matt, if you're putting out a green light at night, how do you go about catching crappie? Am I catching? All I'm catching is a few little ones and get a lot of hits, but no hookups. What gives? So, I've since given up night fishing since I had kids because what happens is I go night fishing, I fish all night, and then my kids want to play with me all day, or I have to go to work. So, I have since given up night fishing, but I can tell you this. A lot of times when I night fished, I would experience the same thing. A lot of times you're getting a lot of hits, and those hits are not necessarily crappie. Okay. In that ecosystem, when you put a light out, because it turns into an ecosystem, let's face it, the microorganisms are attracted to the light, and then the bait fish are attracted to the light, and then the big fish are attracted to the light. Before you know it, you have this big swarm of what looks like goo down there swimming around your light because there's so many of them you can't see. And there's fish darting in and darting out and running in circles and doing that and doing this, and it's a really cool experience. If you hadn't ever night fished, you probably should at some point in your life, because it's a really cool experience if you get in the right place. But a lot of times those bites that you're not getting hookups on are white bass and bluegill and things of that nature. So you're not necessarily always getting bit by crappie. But what I will tell you is I always had better luck when fishing around groups of structure. Okay. And I'm not talking about necessarily fishing over a brush pile, but find you an area that has 6, 8, 10 brush piles in a pretty close proximity to one another, and at least within 50 to 80 yards of one another, and fish somewhere in that vicinity. Okay. And another thing you can do is go out just before dark and find the bait and put a light out where the bait is. Okay. You've got to have bait to have fish, and you've got to have brush, or you've got to have some kind of structure around that crappie generally hang on during the day, because at night they're going to come off that structure to feed. Okay. So you need to be in those areas where there's crappie during the day. That should help you. A lot of those strikes that you're getting aren't crappie. Okay. It's going to happen. Every fish in the lake is attracted to the bait fish that are attracted to the light. So try not to get too down on yourself with that, with the bites and no hookups, because that's going to happen. But that would be my personal or advice to be more productive when night fishing. Okay. By the way, I'm fishing jigs and plastics. So black jig for sure. Black jig. Have you tried the new ACC baits? Yes, sir, I have. Actually did a post. I did a TikTok. So Wired's on TikTok now. We're TikTokers. I hadn't posted a whole lot because just got on there, but we posted 3 or 4 different little videos, 3 or 4 little clips on TikTok. So Wired's on TikTok. And yes, I did do a TikTok with the new ACC baits. Love the pear juice. I prefer that smaller bait. I prefer the smaller version of that bait and I prefer the what is it? I can't remember the name of it now. Goodness gracious. There's the shank, and then there's another one. I don't prefer the shank. I prefer the other one. Hang on a minute. I'll grab them. Ow. Oh, yeah. All right. So there's the club and the shank. I don't prefer the club. The club is not my first choice. That's the club, and that is in pear juice. Okay. That is a monkey milk with kind of a yellowish chartreuse type tail. And then here's the shank. And the shank is actually what I prefer. I'm sorry, I told you guys wrong. The shank is what I actually prefer. And it's a great little bait. This is the 175, so it's 1 3/4 inches long. I prefer that over the larger bait. But it's a really cool, if anybody remembers the Bobby Garland, let's see, very similar to the Bobby Garland tails. And I love them. The Slab Slayer. It's very, very similar to the Slab Slayer tail, and it's a great bait. I mean, I don't have anything bad to say about it. It's got a lot of action to it. It's a good dead sticking bait. I don't necessarily prefer them for casting, but I also haven't casted with them a whole lot. I dead stick with them this summer, deep in brush, and I caught fish. So, you know, they're a good bait. They're fairly durable. They're not as durable as a bonehead bait. Bonehead is probably twice as durable as they are, but they are good baits, and they've got some great colors. Jimmy Pratt, the best end of Dale Hollow is the end you choose to fish. There you go. That's the truth. The end you catch crappie on. Charlie, do the hand-tied flies with Chanel collar work better than ones with just plain thread? Better? No. Do they work? Yes. I never tied Chanel on my hair jigs. When I tied my own hair jigs, it was just a straight calf tail with thread on top. You know, it was just tied with thread, straight calf tail jig. And I liked them because they were sleek, they were slender, the calf tail had room to breathe, it wasn't being held down. I mean, a litany of different reasons. But to answer that question, no. Do they work? Yes. Is it better? No. Matt, I have a question for you. When you find a crappie pile at 12 feet, do you pull your depth in at 12 feet? Are you talking about on live scope, Ernest? So if you're talking about live scope and I find a crappie pile at 12 feet, I actually set my live scope 2 foot deeper than my depth. So if my depth is 12 foot, then I'll set my live scope to 14. That way I can see a little bit of the bottom on bottom of it, but I'm utilizing the entire screen. Okay. And then as far as my forward range, it depends on the clarity of the water, on how far forward I'll look. Generally, it's 40 feet if I'm fishing a brush pile, but I'll also suck that joker in. If I can get to 20 feet, I'll suck it on into about 25 or 30, just to make that brush pile bigger. Charles, hey, had to try. Lots of laughs. I'm in the tournament in November. Lots of laughs. That's funny. I thought maybe you were, Charles, but I wasn't going to say anything. And like I said, I mean, it's important. It's important that the tournament have. It's important that the integrity of the event be upheld, because yet again, there's a lot of guys that don't have the opportunity to spend a lot of time, or there's a lot of guys that don't know people, or there's a lot of guys that have to spend their hard-earned money to try to learn bodies of water. And I feel like the integrity of the event is very important. It's very it's just the best thing for the event is to be as fair as possible. Okay. So as you guys know, my goal for this channel and my goal in general for all my fishing is to teach and to help and to make guys better and to teach guys to be better crappie fishermen. But at the same time, there's sometimes I can't speak on things because I have my morals and I have my beliefs, and I believe that the right thing is the right thing, and I believe that the integrity of the event is what is important, and I believe that what's right is right and wrong is wrong. So again, I apologize, Charles, that I can't answer that question for you tonight, but I promise you I will in November. Okay, after the event, I'll answer any question you have about Dale Hollow. Eddie Toon, hit that old like button. Thank you, Eddie. I appreciate it, buddy. Bid Kid, if water is pretty stained and visibility is under a foot, what color would you recommend on a jig? Orange and chartreuse, or pink and chartreuse? Pink chartreuse, orange chartreuse, or black chartreuse. Black chartreuse is a universal color. You can use black and chartreuse in anything, but pink chartreuse, orange chartreuse, black and chartreuse. That'd be my three colors. That'd be my go-tos. Harrison, Matt, I have no instincts on finding crappie. Have a Helix 7 with downside scan, but it doesn't have the detail the higher end units or LiveScope have. So is it harder to see what to look for? It's not necessarily harder, Harrison. A smaller screen is going to be a little tougher because everything on a smaller screen is smaller, right? That's why they've got 12 and 15-inch screens, and even, larger now, which is a little scary. But the larger the screen, the larger the image you're looking at. And it's just that simple. But on a 7-inch unit, it's doable. Okay. You need to suck that side imaging in to about 40 feet. You don't need to look more than about 40 feet either direction. And you need, whether you're using side or down imaging, you do not need to split screen it. You need to full screen it so that you can see well. And a little bit of a bleep. Let's say you've got clean bottom and there's nothing there, and then all of a sudden there's this area that looks like a little ghost is sitting in it. That's brush or structure of some point. That's something under the lake. Doesn't go from a just nice clean screen to all of a sudden this little area of ghost looking stuff, and it's like, what happened right there? It must have messed up. No, it didn't mess up. There's something in the water there. So a lot of times guys miss those things because they think, oh, well, my unit's, something's wrong with it, or there's bad pixel there, or, what is that crap, or that must be a bait fish or something, or, a lot. I mean, I've heard everything is what I'm trying to say. So, if you see an irregularity on your screen, it's because there's something in the water. Always mark those. A waypoint's free, baby. Roll that beautiful bean footage. Roll that cursor over there. Put it on whatever that little dot or that little bleep or that little ghost-looking thing or that little blur, whatever it is, or just a little black spot. That could be a shadow from something, okay? Anytime that bottom changes, roll that beautiful bean footage on over there, put you a little waypoint on it, and then turn around and drive over it with your down imaging. That'll tell you a true picture, okay? So, and if there's nothing there, if you go, oh, well, that's nothing, must have been bait fish. Well, then cool. You didn't waste anything, a couple seconds, minute maybe, tops. But at that point, you can delete the waypoint, move on, go find something else. Waypoints are free, okay, guys? Waypoints are free. Unless you want mine, and then they're very expensive. I'd be willing to sell y'all all my waypoints when I quit tournament fishing. Y'all can have every one of them. I don't care. But they're going to cost you. Okay? So cost of gas and my time looking for them is worth a lot to me. So anyway, Harrison, no docks or obvious surface structure to key on in Home Lake, Thunderbird, and Hefner in central Oklahoma. Most trips end in skunked, which is frustrating and hard to know what I'm doing wrong. Advice. Again, look for those little anomalies on your screen because they're not, look, a 7-inch screen, I mean, we're talking a screen this big. And, if for instance, okay, here is an 8, okay, here's a Lowrance HDS 8 Gen 1, and here's a 10 Gen 1, okay, you guys can tell the difference, so let me line them up. You guys can see the difference in the 10 and the 8. It's a big difference, okay? So if we're looking at a brush pile at 50 feet, and yes, I have a very large stash of extra units. I can't help it. I'm addicted. So if we're looking at a brush pile that is, golly, I need something to, okay, here we go. if we're looking at a brush pile that appears that big on a 10, okay, so that the end of that is the brush pile on a 10-inch screen. Then on a 7-inch screen, it's going to be that big. You see what I'm saying? Because the difference in screen size is going to make it appear it's the same size under the water. It's the same size brush pile, but on a screen that is smaller, the brush pile, the same brush pile, is going to appear smaller. So when you see a little anomaly, again, on your screen, you need to mark that. You need to go over it with your down imaging, and you need to see if it is some type of structure, okay? Might just be a rock, maybe a log, maybe bait fish, okay? But it doesn't cost anything to mark a waypoint, okay? Now, if you didn't hear that, if you're a tournament angler or you're in this live feed and you're struggling with any kind of electronics, if y'all aren't listening to that, y'all are in the wrong place. That is the tip of the night. I'm telling you right now, waypoints are free. Mark every single anomaly that you see on that depth finder, and you will 110% find more structure, period. There is a ton of stuff that people drive by because they look at their screen and go, I think that's something. I don't know. And they just drive right on by because it's not a brush pile this big. Okay. And people are always, you see these commercials. Stop watching these commercials. Stop watching these YouTubers. Stop watching all these guys that are like, hey, let's go see this brush pile. Oh, boom, there it is right there. Look at that. They're taking you to a tree that's under the water that literally somebody cut a 40-foot oak off the side of the bank and laid it out in the lake and put some blocks on it and sunk that joker. They're taking you to stuff that is so big on the screen that you can't help but see it. That's not what you're always looking for. You're looking for that little dot that's on the screen, okay? You're looking for that little bitty black dot that's over there, and you're wanting to pull over there and find 12 fish on it and catch all 12 of them because they don't have anywhere to hide. So, if I could give anybody advice about their depth finder, that would be the first thing, is mark everything, okay? I should charge y'all for that one. that one's worth some money. That was worth some money right there. I mean, when I go on an electronics guide trip, not every time, but a lot of the times, that's first or second question I ask is, okay, we're going to drive through here. I want you to watch this screen I want you to put your head right here on my shoulder, and I want you to tell me every time you mark something. And I just start driving. And there's sometimes where I'll see 4 or 5 things, and then they'll go, hey, I'll mark that one over on the right. And I'm like, all right, well, I saw 4 more that you should have marked before that one. Really? And then there's sometimes where it's like, well, I'll mark that one right there, the one on the left that just came on the screen. It's a brush pile. I'll mark that one. And I'm like, did you not see the other 38 that we passed by on the way out here? And they're like, huh? What? How many? I'm like, there was probably 30. I mean, I counted them. There was like 38 from there, waypoints that I would have marked. From the boat ramp to here, I would have marked 38 waypoints already. And they're like, no. And I'm like, yeah, let's go back. And I'll go right back down the same line on GPS, follow my exact trail, and I'll start marking stuff. And they're like, good Lord, I didn't see all that. And it's like, okay, then. So anytime you see an anomaly, mark it. Waypoints are free. And I'm going to get off that soapbox. From the Netherlands. What's up, Netherlands? Never, ever have I ever had someone from the Netherlands. So welcome. Is there crappie in the Netherlands? That's what I want to know. You guys got crappie over there? Mark from Pine Mills here in East Texas. What's going on, Mark? So I actually lived in Beaumont for a while, Port Arthur, back years and years and years ago. I actually went to elementary school in Groves. So there you go. John, what's up from southeastern Indiana? What's going on, John? Charles, no problem. I completely understand. Thank you, sir. YZ, how to tell if the crappie is big or small on the fish finder. I don't have live scope. Okay. So, a couple different ways to tell on a down imaging or side imaging screen how large the crappie are. Okay, side imaging screen, I'm looking for shadows. So, if I see crappie on a brush pile, or I see crappie sitting off the side of a brush pile or over the top of a brush pile, and I don't see a shadow, like let's say I can see the fish off the side, but I don't see a shadow off to the side, chances are they're probably smaller fish. Now, if I go over a brush pile or I see a brush pile off to the side of the boat, and I see the little white specks, and then right out from those white specks, I see black dots all in the bottom. Chances are those are bigger fish. Why is that? Because they're big enough that they're throwing a shadow on the side imaging. Okay, so that's number one. That's the number one way. Number two is if you see big groups of fish, like let's say you're looking on your down imaging, you go over a brush pile and you just see a cloud of fish sitting there. Those are typically smaller fish because the smaller fish group together, school together for protection from other predators. Because those small fish, those 8, 9, 10-inch crappie, they could get eat by a 4, 5, 6-pound bass or a rockfish or a pike or wherever you're from, whatever species could eat them, or flathead catfish or whatever it is. Okay, so clouds of fish are generally smaller fish. If you look on your down imaging and you can clearly make out 1, 2, 3, 4 crappie, those are probably larger fish because you can make them out. They're by themselves. They're kind of loners. They're typically larger fish. So that is my 411 on how to tell. And that is what I live by solely. A lot of times I don't ever put my live scope in the water, guys. I look at the size of those fish strictly on my down imaging or side imaging because I don't have to stand up. I can put that Merc 4-stroke right back there, which I love. God, I love that Mercury 4-stroke. I'm so glad that I made that change. I never did want to make that change, but I'm glad I made that change. Anyway, we'll move on. As you can tell, I do have a boat right here in the shop. This is not my boat right here. I do have a shop boat that I'm working on tonight. It's a PT 175, Protein 175, that we are putting a fishing specialties pole in for a live scope unit. And I'm going to do that right after this and get it done. Have them pick it up tomorrow. So it'll be ready to rock and roll. But that is typically how I fish. I do not stand up on the deck and turn on my live scope unless I see large fish on a brush pile. If I don't see them on there, I'm going to the next one. Okay. Rusty, can you give me a couple of your waypoints on Loudon so I can check to make sure I'm looking at the right thing on side scan? Loudon is where our next tournament is for East Tennessee Crappie Club. And yeah, absolutely, Rusty. I'd be more than happy to give you some waypoints. I'll send them to you right after this. But I need you to do me a favor. When you go to check those waypoints, please do not go on plane. Okay? All right. Let's see. Jimmy Russell Prophet. There is a brush pile next to the docks, Calhoun's on the river. While you're there, pick us up a barbecue sandwich. Fries too. See, that's what it's all about. Just anglers helping anglers. That's what I'm talking about. I mean, while you're there, I want a half rack of ribs and a baked potato and a large Dr. Pepper with no ice. That should be good. Maybe some baked beans. And maybe a side salad. And then you can bring it to me. And after you do that, I'll give you a couple of waypoints. That'd be great. All right. So what I take from this is Jimmy Pratt's fishing down the lake around Calhoun's. Rusty is probably going to be down that way because Jimmy just told him he's fishing down the lake. And I didn't tell y'all anywhere I was going to be. So, see, that's how we read people's. That's funny. All right. Harrison, thanks, Matt. I'll keep trying. Wish you were out my way for an electronic sky trip. Yeah, me too, buddy. I'd love to take you on one. Love to. Netherlands crappie are called halibut. Hey, I'm not opposed to going and catching, and I know flounder and halibut are two different things, but when I lived in Southeast Texas, we did a lot of flounder fishing. I loved flounder fish, flat out loved flounder fish. So, I fish a lake with brush piles and standing timber. Which should I focus on? Ooh. Me personally, I would. I personally would focus on brush piles, and the reason I say that is because, and I don't know your lake, but I like focusing on structure that people can't readily see. So if they're standing timber, um, people, it's apparent there's structure there. People can look and say there's structure there. I'm going to go fish that. So they probably get fished more than those brush piles that are hidden, okay, under the lake surface. Those submerged brush piles. So that's typically what I would go to is that submerged structure. A little harder to find. A lot of guys won't take the effort because if they can go catch a limit of keepers on standing timber, why do they need to spend all day looking for 14 brush piles? You know what I'm saying? Good kid. That makes two of us on the electronics trip. Hey, you two can get together, come down here, and we can go on one. I mean, we got motels down here. Y'all welcome to drive down here and go. No, I wish I could be everywhere. I really do. I wish I could. I wish I could get up to where you guys are. I wish I could move around a little bit more than I do. But man, it's hard. 3 kids and a wife and a full-time job, and then everything wired. It's hard to get everything done. But maybe one day. Oh, we read that one already. Sorry. Moving on. Danny, thank you. He said, I'll second that. Hit the like for the guy. Come on, guys. Smash that like button. All right. So let's talk about live bait fishing. Okay. Late summer, a lot of times live bait is where it's at. Okay. Sometimes you got to resort to live bait. Now, with that being said, also a lot of times in the summer, you got to pretty much put it in front of their face and hold it there and hope that they decide that they're hungry at some point. Sometimes they are, sometimes they're not. It just depends on how stubborn and ornery the stupid fish want to be. Okay. And I can say that because sometimes they're stupid. Sometimes they don't want to buy. So there's a couple different rigs, a couple different setups that I use for live bait fishing. Okay. One of which is, I'm not going to call it a modified rig, but it's not, well, it's not really a drop shot because you're not fishing it on the bottom of the lake like a drop shot is fished, but it's kind of a modified drop shot, if you will. So one way that I do it is with an egg sinker. Okay. Take me one of these, tie it on the end of my line. I'll go up probably 12 to 18 inches above that, and I will tie, first of all, I tie a loop knot. Okay. Tie a loop knot with a gold Aberdeen. I like a gold Aberdeen hook. And I always tie a large loop when I do this. And when I say large, I mean, I'm talking 3 or 4 inch loop. Enough for that minnow to move around, but not enough for him to get in trouble or get hung up. So a number 2 gold Aberdeen is my go-to crappie hook for live bait. That's pretty simple, straightforward. And then on the end of that loop knot, I'll leave enough for about a 12 to 18 inch tag when I tie the loop knot, and I'll put that on the end of that tag. What that allows me to do is, because a lot of times in the summer, those fish get real tight to brush or in brush, and I can actually drop this down into the brush pile slightly, that 12 to 18 inches, and I can hold a minnow, I mean, right on the brush or right on a limb. I can bounce this off a limb or a tree or whatever it is that I'm fishing. It doesn't get hung up nearly as much as a straight hook would, or any type of hook really would. And I can really fish that jig. What I like to do, because the fish are so finicky, and this is another positive for this rig, okay? Now hear me out. a lot of times with a minnow rig, anglers don't feel the bite because they are on a slack line. They have slack line, or, you know, they pick up that minnow and come up with it. They don't necessarily feel that bite fully. So with this rig, you're tight to your line at all times. So this is hanging on the bottom, and you're tight from your rod to this. This is a vertical jigging type presentation, straight up and down, okay? Because you're fishing deep. I mean, you're fishing deep in the summer, right? So a lot of times it's straight up and down. You've got a tight line, and any little variation of a strike, any bump, nudge, anything, you're going to feel it with a tight line, okay? So some guys will say, well, why don't you just use a jig head? Well, I don't like putting a minnow on a jig head because a minnow can't move the jig head around. A minnow can take this little gold Aberdeen #2 hook and he can swim around with it, okay? I want that minnow to look as lifelike as possible. I don't want that minnow frozen in one spot. I want that minnow to move around a little bit, but I don't want him to move around so much that he gets around limbs or gets around anything that can get hung. You know, some guys are going to say, well, why not just use a slip float? Well, you can. I'm not saying that you can't use a slip float. I use a slip float a lot of times. I'm just telling you one technique, okay, that I really like to use this time of year because it keeps me tight. I can fish it quickly. Quickly is the reason that I like to fish it that way, because I can fish it quick and I can keep moving. A slip float, and everybody's going to say, yeah, you did a video with that film. They don't make them anymore. You're right. They don't. And I have 2 left, and I'm holding on to these jokers because it kills me that they don't make them anymore. But they do make a rod and bobs like this one right here. That would be my next go-to, would be a rod and bobs. This is a 3-in-1. It does act as a slip float. Right there is the slip float end. Okay, so you put your line right through there above the spring. You can slide it right in there and it'll slip just like a regular slip float will. So the rod and bobs would probably be my next go-to after the Phil Stealth, which they no longer make, which I'm so sad about. But nonetheless, I do like the slip float, but yet again, it's not as fast. I can't fish it as fast, and I can't be as accurate with it. So you guys that fish a slip float a lot, you guys know when you cast a slip float out, because of the nature of the slip float, the line slides through the float, and as it's sliding through there, your float's moving back to you, right? Or it's moving in some direction. It's always moving because you've got line moving through that float that's moving the float. So you can't be as accurate with a slip float as you can with this. I can drop that right down in his face. That minnow will swim around freely or naturally, and a lot of times that'll get a strike. Now, a lot of times you have to hold it there for a little bit until they decide that they're going to hit it, but you will eventually get them to hit it if they're hungry at all. And I do vary the size of that sinker some as well. If I'm fishing really deep, I'll go with the larger size. This is I shouldn't even say anything because I don't know what sizes they are now. This is an 1/8 and this is a 1/16. Okay, so 1/8 ounce, 1/16 ounce, depending on how deep I'm fishing is depending on, or how deep the fish are, depends on which one of those that I use. But if the fish are in 30 feet of water and sitting in 15, I'll probably go with the 16th. If they're 30 feet of water and they're sitting at 28, then yeah, I'll use the 1/8. But again, I can put it in their face, figure out real quick if they're even interested, and then I can move on. So it's all about fishing fast, hitting as many spots as I can, and moving on for tournament fishing. Now, if I'm just going out for a fun day of fishing, then I'll probably throw the slip float, because what kid or adult doesn't love watching that slip float go under the water? What human being on the face of this earth says, I just can't stand to watch a float go down? Oh my gosh, I just can't stand to watch a float disappear under the lake surface when a crappie bites it. I just can't stand it. Well, guess what? We can't be friends no more, because if you can't stand watching this float go down, then you have got a serious problem, and you need to go talk to somebody about it, because everybody loves to see that float disappear. Now, you might not like watching it when it's sitting there still not moving. Nobody likes that. But when that float goes, everybody gets excited about that, right? And that's about how it does it, right? You see that initial, and then it just slowly goes under the water. Crappie time. Yuck. So, I love watching a slip float go down. And if I'm fun fishing for the day, that's probably how I'm going to fish. But tournaments, going with that. All right. So again, live bait. And there's all this talk. Which one's better? Is the little red thingy, the little plastic stopper, the little rubber bobber stop, or the thread better? It's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. These come loose. You have to retie. Okay. These get stuck in your reel and in your eyes and everywhere else. So, which one do you want to fight with? Do you want to fight with retying every 2 hours, or do you want to fight with not being able to cast? So it just depends on what your preference is. I mean, you can do either one. I have both. I'm sure you guys probably have both. A bead. Do I prefer color bead? Color bead. What does everybody like? Again, you guys know I like Chartreuse. Chartreuse is known scientifically to cause a reaction bite in fish. It's known to do that. That's why I have Chartreuse I have Chartreuse beads. I have Chartreuse lines. I have little Chartreuse balls in there. I have Chartreuse floats. I got Chartreuse everything. If I could find a Chartreuse hook, I might buy one of them because it's known to cause a reaction strike in fish. So that's why so many crappie jigs have Chartreuse on it. Okay. But whatever your personal preference is, as far as, bobber stops, line versus rubber versus beads versus, whatever. Okay. Some guys are going to say, well, what about bobbers with a rattle in them? If you're fishing 2 foot deep, a rattle may help you. If you're fishing 22 foot deep, a rattle at the surface ain't going to do nothing for your crappie fishing. Okay. So it just depends on, what type of fishing you're doing, what type of depth you're fishing, what kind of structure you're fishing, how you're fishing. Do I float and fly at 22 foot deep? No, I do not. I do not float and fly at 22 foot deep because, quite frankly, I'm not going to have a rod long enough to throw something that far. And I don't like slip floating when I'm floating and flying. So to answer your question on float and flying, I do not. Do I fish with jigs with a slip float? No, I do not. I don't fish. If I'm going to fish with a jig, it's going to be 1 rod, 6.5 foot casting, and we're doing it right, baby. We're going to town on the jigging. So I only slip float with live bait. That's the only time I slip float. Did I say bobber drop? Bobber stop. If I said bobber drop, I'm sorry. All right. Do you have one already rigged up? No, I do not. But we can. Which one? Which one are we talking about? Are we talking about we can rig them both. We talking about this rig? Oh, we can rig one up. I got a rod right here. I got one right here. Any dentists in the house? I'm going to need one. All right. So, let me open the bail. Let me open the bail up. My bail. Why won't that come out? Come on now. Hey, we're wrapped around the rod. We're wrapped around the reel. Come on, baby. All right. So, okay. To tie that quote-unquote drop shot rig. Let me get rid of that comment. So, to tie that quote-unquote drop shot rig, I'm going to take my line. I'm going to put it right through this jig. See if I can do this where y'all can see it. I'm going to pull about 2 feet of tag out the end. Okay? About 2 feet of tag line. I'm going to take it right about like this right here. And I'm going to grab above the hook because I want a big loop knot. So I'm going to grab it up above the hook. Okay? Everybody see that? Above the hook. And I'm going to wrap it 1, 2. Okay? And I'm going to take this hook. I'm going to go right back through that loop that I just created with my fingers. Okay? Now, everybody see that right there? I'm just going to cinch her on down. Cinch her on down. Right like that. Okay? Everybody see the knot? right there. And there's my loop. That's actually a little short for what I like, but that's okay. I like it a little bit longer than that. I keep forgetting my camera's on the side of the phone. All right, so then I take my tag end, okay? Here's my main line. Here's my tag end down here. I take my tag end, and I've got about, well, I got about 2 feet of tag end. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down here. There's the hook. I'm going to come down here about 18 inches, about right here. And I'm just going to nip that off. Okay. I'm going to take this weight. I'm going to go right here with an improved clinch knot. Okay. So I'm going to go wrap it 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to go through that loop right above the eye. It's kind of hard to do here. And then I'm going to bring it back and go through this loop right here that I created. Cinch that down tight. Okay? Cut that off. Right there. So what I've now done is there's my weight. And then right up here is my hook. Okay? So then I'll put a minnow on there. And I will dangle that right down in the brush pile. And then there's my hook. So there's my weight. Go right down the brush. There's my hook. Okay? So that's the first one that I do. Okay? Right there. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. And for a slip float, I'm going to use my old trusty feel. All right. I'm going to, whoopsie. Let's use the rubber bobber stop on this one. All right. So I got these bobber stops with a bead. Bobber stop, bead. Put your line through that little loop right there. I got butterfingers. There's a little loop on the end of this. I don't know if you guys can see it or not. It's so tiny. See that loop right there on the end, right above that red rubber stop? Put your line through that loop. Okay. Pull it through. Then what you want to do is you want to take the rubber bead and the plastic bead and slide them off onto your line, just like so. Okay, so now we have those on the line. Then slide those up. Take my float, put my float on the line. Okay. Then we want to take gold number 2. Again, when I tie a hook here, I use that improved clinch knot. 1, 2, 3, 4. Go through the loop and back through the loop I just created. Cinch that down. And then here, I use a number 5. Okay. That is a number 5 split shot. All right. Number 5 split shot. Go right about 6 inches above the hook. And I put my split shot on. Now, not going to do it for tonight's demonstration because I'm probably going to take this off. But there it is. That's it. That's my slip float setup. Okay. And I'm ready to rock and roll. I'm ready to go fishing. That is the 2 slip floats I use, or the 2 methods I use for live bait fishing. And they work really well. I mean, I've fished with them for years. I've caught a ton of fish with them. Ton of fish. With both. Let's see. Do crappie school by size? If I live scope and catch a few small ones, should I find another school? Yes, they will school by size. Rusty, well, we know what Matt is using next weekend or next week. Note to self: buy minnows for tournament. No, I will not have minnows in the boat for the tournament next weekend. I typically no, I won't have minnows. I won't fish that slow next weekend. I don't think that could change, but I don't think that I'll fish that slow. I'm gonna be moving a lot. So no, I don't think. See, the thing now, Rusty, is used to I had to pre-fish, and I had to figure out what area of the lake the better fish were in, because if I didn't, there was no way I had enough gas to fish all my spots. But now I have enough gas to fish the whole lake. So, with that being said, I'm going to be fishing fast, and I'm going to be fishing a big area, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm really excited about this year because I'm going to be fishing a ton of water this year, and I'm looking forward to it. So, yeah, I don't know. I might fish. I may fish that way. I did fish Loudon this past week, and I did catch some really good fish on a stump bug. So, I don't know. We'll see. We will see. Jonathan Hunt, what's the best month for a guided trip? Probably October, November. It'd be the best months for the fall bite. Spring, March, April. Summer, summer, June, 1st of July, for sure. All right, guys, we've been on for a little over an hour. I've gotten to the bottom of the questions. We're going to call it a night. We will do it again next Wednesday night, 9 o'clock, same time next Wednesday, guys. I appreciate each and every one of you for watching. If I said anything wrong tonight, then I apologize. If I said what did I say? Slip something? Didn't I say something wrong? Somebody said something. Somebody said a bobber drop. If I said bobber drop, I apologize. And I'm pretty sure somebody else said egg sinker. I think I called these wrong. That's not an egg sinker. If I called those an egg sinker, then my apologies. It's not an egg sinker. Egg sinkers is what I used to spider rig with. So anyway, if I said anything wrong tonight, I apologize. Okay, but as always, I appreciate you guys watching. Hey, there you go, Jimmy. Next Saturday will be a good time to book him on as guide. Yeah, next Saturday would be perfect during the tournament, right? No, actually, next Saturday is already blocked off in my schedule, so nobody can book next Saturday because it is already blocked off in my schedule. But yeah, the Jimmy Brad, I agree. But there again, if I called anything by its wrong name or made a fool of myself by saying bobber drop, then I apologize. It's not a bobber drop; it's a bobber stop. So you guys can laugh at me all week, and we will see you guys back here, same time, same place next week. As always, guys, I appreciate each and every one of you. I appreciate y'all being here, and I just appreciate y'all taking the time to listen to me run my mouth and do what I do. I hope it helps. I hope you become a better angler because of something that I said tonight. If you take one thing away from each live, and it helps you, then we've accomplished something. Okay. So I appreciate each and every person for being on here. I thank Rusty and Jimmy for always keeping me on my toes, because they are well welcomed, and I appreciate them for making sure that I stay straight in my crappie fishing ventures. Love fishing against those guys, two really good anglers, and I appreciate them as always, and I appreciate you guys as always. So with that, as always, God bless, guys. We'll catch you on the next one, and watch out for the next video that should have dropped Monday, should have dropped yesterday, but it's coming because I'm working on it. I got a lot of editing to do. Make sure Jimmy and Rusty can't tell where I'm at on Loudon. So anyway, nonetheless, I appreciate it, guys. You guys have a good week, and we will see you on the next one.